And we're live. Welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from in the world. Welcome to another High Vibe Conversation. I'm your host, 𝗕𝗿𝗀𝗍. With me today are Linda Vetrus-Nichols, 𝗕𝗿𝗶𝗵 𝗀𝗍, and our special guest for today, Dr. Brian Grossman. Today we'll be talking all about physical drama, and we might have another one of our ladies pop in shortly to join us as well. I'm excited to have this conversation with all of you. As you may already know, this is a safe, inclusive space for you to share at the same time that we share and navigate through some of our experiences. And we're holding space for you to do so as well. So feel free to pop your comments and thoughts into the chat, whether you're watching with us live or on the replay, and we will get back to you to make sure that we can continue this conversation. Of course, if you would like to have a more powerful one-on-one with any or all of us at any point, we will share the link as well for you to book calls with us directly. With that being said, Dr. Brian, welcome to High Vibe Conversations. We're excited to have you here. It would be great if you could introduce yourself so that we can get to know a little bit more about you.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. Really excited to talk with everybody and meet everybody. So I'll give you just the 2-minute rundown. So from Southern California, born and raised, PhD in clinical psychology, worked at several different maximum security prisons, worked for a seminar company doing public speaking and training seminars in leadership and communication, working on coaching people in weight loss, keeping the weight off. I had weight loss surgery twice, one-time loser, one-time winner. 2011 had lap band, had lost the weight, went into bad habits, gained it all back and more because I could excel at overeating. And then had gastric sleeve surgery, and I've kept 180 pounds off for 7 years now. So even being a short-sighted, smarty PhD, it took me till researching this surgery and looking into it that after the surgery, it's all up here. So it's all about mindset and emotions. And so I've mastered that secret sauce, I believe. And what else? I'm currently helping out a new treatment center that specializes in substance abuse with first responders. So really excited about this project. And that's it. And of course, working with Linda, we came up with a great concept that I think applies. And I was talking with 𝗕𝗿 recently, well, over the weekend, just about, so much negativity when new things come out. And I keep coming back to Linda's concept of simple concepts create change. And my belief, optimism works. And not pie in the sky, although that is my weakness, always looking at the new shiny object, but just looking at ChatGPT. Had a project assigned to me at work, and I could have spent hours and hours and still not been done this week. And instead I put the information in ChatGPT and said, create this. It created it. It gives you an option to redo it. I redid it. I have to personalize it, of course, because you can tell it's machine driven, shall I say, but I'm not afraid that it's going to replace me as a therapist. I don't think a robot will ever be able to do that. And that reminded me of something, and forgive me, Linda, I don't remember if we talked about this, but my first year in grad school, my roommate comes to me and says, you need to drop out of school and do something else. Commodore, I took a basic language program from the Commodore magazine, and it does therapy. And I said, really, does it work? And he says, well, let's try it. So he gave me his Commodore computer, and the therapist says, good morning. And I said, and of course I would never do this in person, but I said, I hate you. And it said, what? And I said, I can't stand you. I'm going to hurt myself in the office right in front of you. And it said, what? And I looked at my roommate and said, I don't think I'm going to be replaced anytime soon. So we're in good shape. So I think there are always concerns with new technology, of course, but it shouldn't be puzzling to me. If it bleeds, it leads, but there's so many positive things that you can do with AI. And I think that needs to be promoted more than, the negativity of we're all going to be replaced. So anyway, I hope I didn't babble too much, and I'll be quiet now.
No, there's so many places that we can take that wonderful introduction and drive this conversation. When we're thinking about physical drama, though, I know there were a few things that you mentioned that kind of lend itself to talking more about that. One thing that you said was you've kind of like mastered the overeating concept. How can we talk a little bit more about how that lends itself to physical drama or what complications that could cause?
Sure. Where to start? So, I used to believe that food was better than sex and relationships. So after I got divorced, I was working for the seminar company, and being away from home was great. And, very hungry after an 8-hour seminar, but it's not really an 8-hour seminar because you're in the room 2 hours before setting up and preparing, and you're in front of people, and there's nothing more energizing than coaching and training people for me. And I'd be hungry. So why not, on the 2-hour drive to the next city, stop off at Taco Bell and get the $5 10 taco box, get to the next city, set up everything the night before, get workbooks together, and why not have dinner because I'm hungry again. And, I think everybody watching would totally agree, from here to here, clearly a George Clooney lookalike. And I could afford to buy new clothes and was not paying attention. And one of my friends pointed out a few years later, he says, you're not selling yourself well because it's hard to buy you as a motivational speaker as you keep ballooning up in weight. So I could go up and down between 10 and 15 pounds and would try the next fad diet and exercise and stuff like that, and just never connected the dots. Then I had the lap band surgery. And, for anybody listening or watching considering weight loss surgery, it's remarkable. And they still can't figure out what the brain chemistry change is, but 98% of people wake up and you are energized and your attitude is different and you're immediately more positive, and your surgeon and nurse get you up and walking within minutes of waking up because you got to move around. And I did great and lost the weight, was healthy, and then thought I had it. And then if I overate a little, I'd go back to the office and have the band tightened a little bit. And then lo and behold, just bad habits, not following the plan, getting off track, Lord knows, some self-confidence, self-esteem issues, lost some weight, got remarried, took a job at a maximum security prison. That was a great human laboratory, but very stressful, ballooned up in weight, and wasn't realizing how I was just snapping at everybody. And in one team meeting we had at work, I just blew up at the team leader, the officers involved, about how we were handling a treatment issue with patients. And we were being audited. And one of the auditors said, "Why don't we walk outside for a minute?" And he says, "I'm going to tell your boss you can go back in, finish the meeting, and you have the day off, but you need to go see your doctor." And I did. And he says, I had blood tests done the month before, and he thought I was having an affair or selling drugs to inmates. And I said, "No, I'm just completely overwhelmed and stressed out." And he said, "Well, you're going to apply for the gastric sleeve surgery. So let's start jumping through the hoops," because I had type 2 diabetes and my blood pressure had skyrocketed. And I was upset and frustrated. And before I got home, my wife was at my house. I was living away from home for this job. And she threw out everything that was carb, that was bread, that was all the bad things to eat. Lost 70 pounds on my own. still needed to lose more weight, had the surgery, was just stunned at doing the research, and found out. I'll give a shout out to 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗆. She has a company called Bariatric Mindset. I did coaching with her, started coaching men in weight loss, and absolutely shocking how much overeating is all about emotions, and substituting food to make yourself feel good is a very good, immediate feel good solution, but lasts for this long. 20 minutes later, you're still focused on, what's the next thing to make yourself feel good. And it's funny, doing substance abuse treatment, clients will say, what was your drug of choice? And I said, the most powerful drug in the world, two of them, sugar and pasta. I said, chocolate and pasta were a great combo pack. And I said, same part of your brain back here is the addiction center, and it works the same. And, my family is still puzzled. It's fascinating with weight loss surgery. Every human body reacts differently. And so I'm 6 years out. There's certain foods I can never digest. I just can't. Rice is out. I can have cauliflower rice. I can have certain types of pasta, but I have it so irregularly because just a few bites and you're full and you don't get the nutrition. And I come from, where can you have fun? So I love cooking. My wife is going to kill me if I buy another new Instant Pot or cooking appliance. But, I don't come from food restriction anymore. There's thousands of healthy foods that you can have and get enjoyment out of. But what I've learned is how to substitute. There's ways to fix anger, frustration, anxiety, tension without eating, and certainly without using drugs. And coming at it from a point of view of, what drives that thought process and behavior. And I'm absolutely convinced it is reduced to how you feel about yourself. And I divide self-esteem and self-confidence into two parts. Self-esteem, do you love yourself? Do you like yourself? Can you look in the mirror and say, I like myself? And self-confidence, can you do the task? And when you combine those two things and then break things up into little tiny small components, you can make progress. And of course, you'll have some setbacks, but if you keep putting 2 feet in front of the other and moving ahead, things start to happen, and you can see the progress, and most importantly, feel the progress. So, but as everybody listening or everybody online here, it's so easy to slip back into old habits. So keeping that agenda, that structure, that commitment, grit is where I think coaching can really help and help give you the support you need to just stay the course and follow a path. And then as I'm on my own journey into coaching and training and following my passion, is getting family and friends on board. Oh, you'll never do that because you're gonna, they don't say it like this, but you're gonna fall back to the mean, and be who you are. And it drives me clinically insane. I get angry when I hear your past determines future performance, and I don't believe that. I believe everybody has the capacity for change. You just need the support, the inputs, and the mindset change. So sorry to go long-winded there.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It sounds like you've really found a way to have a different relationship and have a different mindset when it comes to food and your eating habits. And we could certainly hear, as you shared with us, about ways that it created some physical drama, certainly like within your actual body, on the inside and on the outside, and also how it caused some physical conflict and drama at work. And from one coworker or inmate to a professional. So it seems like you've really had to change your thinking habits and what's driving you in order to have a better relationship with yourself too. So thank you, Dr. Brian, for sharing with us. Jenny, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you join us here today. I'm going to give the floor to Linda first, and then I'll come back around. Linda, I know we've talked a little bit about, and I don't know if we've ever done it on a high vibe conversation, but now might be the time since we were talking a little bit about relationship to food. You and I have talked in the past about how certain foods affect our body physically. So is that something that you can talk a little bit more about, the physical drama when it comes to food and different types of eating for your body?
Well, for me, it's food sensitivities, and I had no idea what that was. And my kids' behavior was just like, what is with these kids? And having a background in special education and not being able to figure out my own kids was super frustrating. And I ended up taking them to a chiropractor who did muscle testing, and he used different vials of foods and things that, even like milk and things you drink. And it was so funny because he was also testing me, and my daughter read one of the vials while he was testing me, and I tested out strong on peanuts, and he was like, and he slipped it in later, and sure enough, my arm just crashed on peanuts. And it's fun because now that I know about the eat right for your blood type, my blood type is B, and peanuts are a completely no avoid for me. So that was interesting. So, and my son was super sensitive to red dyes. Wow, ADHD off the charts from red dyes. My daughter was like probably clinically depressed from dairy. Dairy was a huge one for her. My husband and I, the husband now, not the husband, our histamine gets really high. So we have to play around very carefully with dairy. And the real frustration for us is that he is A blood type and I am B. And Stina Marie was, she was such a godsend. She said, well, if you guys eat for A, then Linda can just make those slight adjustments for B, which would be like A's can have chicken. And that's a huge no for me because it super does raise my histamine. So anyways, so now we're like cooking and figuring out all these like tweaks on even the blood type diet stuff. And Jenny goes, you guys need to have a cookbook one of these days. And that'll be really fun to share with Stina and her family because they have a lot of sensitivities. The drama that comes out of having food sensitivity is 1 minute you can have something and the next minute you can't. And that's confusing to the person, let alone people in one's family. And they start to think, you're just a little cuckoo in your head. And you get to this, like Jenny talks about, her clients have kind of like downsized their lives and she gets them to expand. And it really, you can easily get into this habit of like shrinking your life, like not wanting to go to any events that involve food unless it's a buffet. I absolutely hate getting invited over to someone's house. And then, if I mention food sensitivities, then it's all about, well, what are they? What can you have? What can't you have? And it's just like, some days I can have some days, yeah. So that's a huge backpedal for me. Is that what you were thinking about, Shell?
That's spot on. It's like we're so in sync right now. It definitely, you connected it back to something that Brian was talking about as well, of how his family and friends kept thinking, oh, you're just going to backpedal. You're just going to fall back to your old habits. So sometimes it really lends itself to the mindset, the new mindset that you have and the relationship that you have with yourself, to almost not prove everybody else wrong when they doubt you, but to prove yourself right, that like you can play around and not limit yourself and restrict your diet and still be healthy about it without having all this physical drama manifest within your body or with anybody else around you. And so, yeah, that I was exactly thinking about the food sensitivities for sure, because I'm also um, a blood type B and still figuring out like some days I can eat certain things and some days I can't. But like I definitely pay attention when I allow myself, and let's not use that word, when I eat something and give myself permission and treat myself with kindness. And I'm like, okay, I can have a little bit of this today because I get to, I want to, and I can enjoy it. But then if I notice a reaction somewhere on my body, and it usually flares up on my forearms, not necessarily like hives, but like it might be itchiness, it might be like some swelling in my throat and thyroid area, it might be my ears, I might have like a sinus headache. But I take notice of these things and I'm like, okay, what other factors might have come together with that today to have that reaction? So it's not necessarily that I'm against foods and like healthy eating or eating in a way that like makes you feel good. It's that I'm just mindful of everything else that goes on around me. And the same way that you mentioned that Jenny takes her clients from like having a limited mindset and outlook, and restricting what they can and can't do in the world, to having that more open-minded, positive view, it just brings everything so full circle to not end up in that physical drama space. I'm not leaving you out, Dort. I'm coming back around to you, I promise. Jenny, since we're talking about expansion and opening people up, can you talk more about physical drama and how that relates?
Yes, happy to. Brian, it's lovely to meet you and hear you. And as you were bringing up confidence, it brought me back to leaving a very abusive relationship and having spent so much of my time outsourcing my sense of security, thinking that something outside of myself would make me feel safe. And then beginning to heal from that situation and recognize that it really comes from knowing who I am and developing the tools to handle change and handle things that are always outside of my control. And I know there was a time after I left when I turned to food. And I did turn to something, I was still looking for something outside of myself to make me feel safe, make me feel good, like you said. And then along the way, I started to recognize that it really does come from within. So I'm connecting trauma to security and to feeling safe. And it really does come from within, and exploring my self-confidence and recognizing that I choose to be safe. And this is quoting Stina, who's not with us today, but I then get to, allow my surroundings to confirm to me that I am safe. And going from there, being observant and recognizing and learning about my triggers and not being controlled by them, recognize how trauma shows up in my body, and how do I self-care? How do I love myself through all of those hoops? It's so much going up and down. It has been just exploring peace and not allowing circumstances to hold me back and shrink my life, like you're saying, Shell, but to be bold and adventurous and be curious and explore those sides of myself that are confident and that, just enjoy and dive into pleasure in life. And I think that's what's coming in as you're all sharing. Thank you.
You just, something popped into my head. So control outside of yourself, within yourself. So the change has to come from within. You've got to make that decision. This is how I'm going to move forward. I'm not going back in. So I talk to clients all the time about so we'll do overeaters for a second. What choices are you making? Do you want to go to a buffet? 3/4 of the food's probably not the best choice for you. There's other options. You can go to, I mean, the best thing about COVID is now you can go to a restaurant and feel free to ask for any customized dish you want. They want your business and they will make it. It's great. But having the radar of something you said, Jenny, and then I think Linda, you brought it. It's like if you go to a place or a friend's house or whatever, I don't even need to talk about, if the people who know me, or if I'm going to a place where they don't know me, I can just be prepared myself. I can have little Ziploc bags of something. And then if I can't eat anything somewhere, I'll do that. But having your radar out of like going into a place and you could either feel the tension or the anxiety. It's like, you know what? We're going to go to another place. We're going to hang out with different people. We're going to, just start making choices for you that are right and setting a boundary and setting a limit for yourself and saying, this is what I have to do for me. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to a friend's house. You can't eat anything. You have to leave. You can socialize for a bit, have a snack ready to go. And then if you need to leave, you need to leave. But the thing you triggered for me, Jenny, or reminded me of is, along with finding your path and your confidence, is what are the things that bring relief to just daily craziness. So for me, it's a whole combo pack of mental health tools. So it's, for me, what I want everybody to grab out of this is I want you to develop a toolbox for yourself of whatever those things are. So for me, it's movie quotes, movie scenes, music bits, comedy bits, book quotes, Bible Torah quotes, stuff that I can cycle through just like that. So I remember being, of all places, challenged by somebody at Home Depot, for God's sakes. They just reacted. I don't even know what was going on, but there's this old Western called Silverado, and Danny Glover pops up from a rock and he's going to save the good guy. And one of the bad guys goes for his gun and Danny Glover shoots him in the hand. And another guy goes for his gun and he says, I don't want to kill you and you don't want to be dead. Well, when somebody's overtly threatening or challenging, that line will come to my head. Now, I won't say it because that's going to make the person explode, but that gives me that moment of clarity. And I've hit the age now where I go to Walmart or Costco or Target and I must have this invisible sign, go ahead and crash your card into me. And I'll never forget where Costco was just packed one day, like they were giving away things for free. And 3 different people just, literally crashed into me. And the lines by the registers were so long. And the manager was standing there and this woman goes, oh, I'm so sorry. And humor, you find a way to use humor. So I just turned around and said, totally my fault. I understand. And she goes, what are you talking about? I said, I'm of the age where to you, I'm invisible. So you just didn't see me. And the manager burst out laughing. He must have thought I was going to explode. And he said, you know what? And he took me over to the cash register, that's off to the side that they use to look up things, and checked me out. And I said, why am I getting such special treatment? He says, I thought you were going to lose it and we were going to have a big confrontation and that was going to take up my whole day. And you got her laughing and me laughing, and that was perfect. And so where you feel safe and secure, and then how can you expand that? And then what you said, Jenny, there's too many things that are out of your control, but you can still bring control to that situation. It's like, okay, if I have to run in here, I'll wait till they're less crowded, I'll come back. If I need to hang out with these friends that I can't eat anything, I'll have a snack and then I'll socialize and leave. It's like, do the things that you need to protect yourself, but I got out of meditating in the morning, and I got out of, when I have free time, watch a movie that I've seen 100 times, but it brings me relief and comfort. And lately, before I go to sleep, I've been hooked on The Big Bang Theory, and there are just so many lines and comedic moments there that I could use in the workplace and use in coaching and use in training. And so I want all of you to go back to what brings you relief, security, and confidence. You can use those things for free all the time, and then keep expanding your circle of influence. So sorry if that was long-winded, but there's always situations where my family will cook something and it's like, I'll look at my wife and said, it's been since 2011. What part are you missing that I can't have any of this? It's like, it's just, it's funny. You just have to laugh, but you can either make it worse or laugh and then find a solution and move forward.
Laughter is such a great medicine. So I definitely resonate with you on that. And something that you've said several times today, and I'm gonna call you out on it a little bit, but in the best way possible. You don't need to apologize for going long-winded, especially not here. I go down the rabbit hole and then some. We all know it. And the conversation has been great. So anytime that you have something to share, please don't apologize for being who you are and saying what you want to say. We appreciate you being here, Brian. Dsóra, I'm coming over to you now because something that Brian and Jenny were talking about reminds me so much of something that I know you've navigated through. When we were talking about being out of control that is outside of ourselves. And something that Brian restated after Jenny was talking was to start making choices for yourself that are right for you. And I know that you've gone through a journey yourself of making more choices that are right for you, especially in your burnout and after your burnout, when you realized that like you could just not keep going the way that you were going, doing everything for everyone else. And especially in your previous job at the pet store, when like everything was all left to you. So can you talk a little bit more about the physical drama that was happening that led to your burnout, and also then the power that you've now taken back as you no longer have that physical drama or allow it to the external control to take hold of you?
Oh, great question. Just rewinding my brain to go back to that time in my life. I used to ignore myself. I was at a place where I was not important. The only thing about me that was important was what I could do for everyone else. So that's why I ate and that's why I slept, to be able to perform things, help do things for others to keep them happy. I ate a lot when I was stressed, and I was stressed a lot. So I was very heavy for a big part of my life. And the heavier I got, the more I stressed because I didn't like myself. That being said, I also gained a lot of weight because in my teens, I got raped twice, and I wanted to disguise my body. I didn't want to look attractive. I didn't want to, I wanted to be shapeless in a way. So it wouldn't happen to me again. That was my kind of a philosophy at that time. but working as much as I did, having the kids, having husband, parent meetings, and everything in between, breeding dogs, going to dog shows, training dogs for others. My days were quite full. And like I said, the more I stressed, the more unhealthy I ate. If there was a chocolate or some pastry, I would devour it instead of going for something that was more filling and would be better for me. So I felt like, well, my blood sugar was just like this roller coaster, and I just hang on for dear life. So, of course, after a while of this, my body just crashed. I couldn't take it anymore. I got pain everywhere. I was so tired, I couldn't even stay awake for a whole day at work. I was sleeping at my desk in between customers. And my mind, that was the most scary part. I couldn't trust my mind. I kept forgetting things. I mixed up things. I thought I had counted some things when I was restocking. And I saw that, for instance, there was 6 bags left of the rabbit food. And I knew that I didn't have to order anymore. If there were 6 bags, I could postpone that to another time. And a few days later, the delivery came and there were 6 bags of rabbit food. And I was like, what? They have made a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. They had made a mistake and sent me those bags. I didn't need that. But when I looked at the order sheet, of course I had put down 6 bags of rabbit food. So I couldn't trust my mind, and that was scary. So it affected that part of me. I started forgetting things. I was very much frustrated and scared to always have forgotten something. So after the burnout, when I started regaining my health and my brain started working again, it was a decision I just had to make, that I couldn't go back there. I knew that I didn't want to be an employee anymore. I didn't want to have a boss, someone that I needed to serve. I just wanted to be my own boss and put myself first, because if I was happy, then the people around me would be happy. So when I took an education, when I started to become a little bit better, I took an education as a Leadership by Heart coach, and we coached each other, and we got coached by the mentors. And I remember one time I asked them, is it possible for me to get an understanding of why I do the stress eating? Why do I eat so much when I'm stressed? Because if I know why, then I can handle it. Why am I doing that? So we had a session where we go into the subconscious and all of that. And I went back to a previous life, actually, and I had a very eye-opening moment where I saw myself in a distant past. This sounds probably crazy to people that hasn't experienced anything like it, but it was stored in my subconscious mind or something, because I've never been to America, but it looks exactly like when we can watch a movie and see when it was muddy and there were old sail ships and people were wearing those white shirts with the big puffy arms and black trousers, and the ladies had these big dresses with like layers and layers, and I was there. I looked down at myself and I was wearing one of those dresses. I had a basket, like a weavy basket on my arm, and there were onions and potatoes in it. And I was so hungry. I could feel that I was hungry. I was sitting there in my chair and I was like, oh, I'm so hungry, and all I have is these potatoes and this onion. and I saw a sign that says tavern up on the wall, and I just walked over there and asked for work, and I got a job there, and I could take home the leftovers for my kids and myself. So when I left, I had a full basket, and I remember it was like, ooh, you know, I can relax. I have food for myself and my kids. I had 2 boys, by the way. If that, you know, the details were just amazing. It was so weird. But when I realized that this was a memory from a past time, and I didn't have to deal with that now because we're in a different setting. I have my fridge full. I don't need to stress and worry about getting food. I don't even have to be hungry. That was kind of a relief to me to just understand that and oh, okay, this is not actually me craving the food. This is a distant memory, sort of. So that changed a lot for me, and I was able to lose a lot of weight just because of that, because I was able to do the choices right when I knew why I was doing it. So that's all the physical drama that's happened to me in the last 10, 11, 12 years. Yeah.
Thank you, Dsort, for sharing that story, especially of the memory of your past, the previous life, and you realized your connection to the stressing about food, and your relationship to it, and how it also took the weight off once you realized that it was something outside of yourself.
Absolutely.
So I love that you've taken away in many different shapes and forms and the layers of this physical drama and the way that it was causing you harm. And something that was outside of yourself that you didn't need to worry about or stress about, that was certainly within your control and your healthy capabilities to not have to like worry about where your next meal is coming from, or like that you only have potatoes and onions to eat, and can fill your belly when it feels good for you. So I love having that story, because it's a very real example of like something that might be coming up for someone else with regard to food scarcity, and the reasons that they might overeat or feel like they need to eat in a certain or unhealthy way. It really lends itself to our topic today about physical drama. And now you've taken control of the situation and can do that in a healthier way for you, so that you don't have any or have less of it. So thank you for sharing. We've talked about so many different things. I didn't mean for it to be all about food today, but I'm not mad at it either, because we've each shared different aspects of how this relates to our lives and our own experiences. So if you have your own food physical drama that you'd like to share, we encourage you to share that with us. If there's other physical drama experiences that you've navigated along the way, we'd love to hear those too. Of course, thank you, Dr. Bryan, for joining us today for this high vibe conversation. I'm going to give you the floor for just a minute or two more. How can people reach you if they want to know more about the work that you do and have a conversation?
Well, through AI technology, you just reach to the screen. No. Brian at 𝗕𝗿𝗿𝗀𝗻𝒐𝑠.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Brian Grossman, YouTube. So as simple as that. But my email, Brian at 𝗕𝗿𝗿𝗀𝒐𝑠.com. Also reach out on LinkedIn, you'll find me, and on YouTube. Well, you can't connect on YouTube, but yeah, LinkedIn is easy, email is easy, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you. We are definitely streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube for Dr. Bryan today, as well as our usual platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We invite you to come back and join us for another high vibe conversation, or to schedule a conversation of your own. I'm going to pop that link up here now in case you'd like to grab it and schedule with us. Of course, find us on all channels and platforms where you can, because we're here for you. And until next time, we will say bye for now.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for being here.